Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 2072nd edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 3rd of November 2016. The readers this week are Janet, Sally, Colin and Keith, with Robin on the controls. The editor was Janet and the production and distribution team is Alan and Phillip. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon and Harry Breur, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry. It's used with his kind permission. The local stories that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. Because of some technical difficulties, we are having to record this as one track tonight. Sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. The local news headlines this week include MP backs hunt for monuments men and hospital missed fatal symptoms. Before the news, we have a special news notice. First, the sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow, the 4th of November. Sunrise 7 o'clock, sunset 16:28. The Management Committee will be holding their next meeting in 2 weeks' time. If you have any suggestions or comments, please get in touch with Diane de Jersey so she can raise these at the meeting. Diane de Jersey can be contacted on 020 8805 6578. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey. Her number again, 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. Now Janet will read the first item of local news.
MP backs hunt for monument men. Enfield MP David Burrows is backing a move to create Britain's own band of monuments men. Experts reservists with background in art, museums and archaeology are all expected to sign up to the new military unit, like the team in the film, to help find and save pieces of art and cultural treasures under threat in war zones. The news comes amid warnings that new legislation to crack down on the trade of these precious items did not go far enough to tackle terror groups such as Islamic State, which has been condemned for its action in the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria. The new Cultural Property Arms Conflicts Bill would make it an offence to damage or deal in cultural objects in war zones. Introducing the bill for its second reading in the Commons, Culture Secretary Karen Bradley said the need for this bill is paramount. In recent months, we have seen the wanton destruction of cultural heritage in the Middle East and North Africa. These tragic events are a reminder of how vital it is that the UK ratifies this convention and makes a strong statement about the importance we place on protecting cultural heritage. The bill would ratify protections initially agreed in the 1954 Hague Convention, which took action against the kind of trade seen after the Second World War. Offences would carry a maximum penalty of 30 years, while the new laws could not be applied retrospectively. David Burrows MP for Enfield Southgate said, "It's important to see the appropriate link between the trafficking of human beings and the trafficking of cultural property. There's that same disregard for people, for their faith, for their community and for their identity."
Hospital missed fatal symptoms. Beleaguered North Middlesex University Hospital has been beset by more damning criticism following the death of a young woman sent home with a hangover. Philippa Odlin, aged 26, died hours after doctors at the busy hospital failed to spot that she had a life-threatening condition called diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA. which caused her body to produce poisonous chemicals. Instead, she was sent away as staff mistook her diabetic complications for a hangover. The media studies graduate received severely inadequate care due to unacceptable failings, which included being discharged when she needed urgent treatment, according to a scathing report by the NHS Ombudsman. Ms. Odlin from High Barnet was found dead in her kitchen by her flatmate the following morning in February 2014. Ombudsman Dame Julie Mellor severely criticised the hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, concluding that Ms. Odlin's death was avoidable because she would have lived if her illness had been diagnosed. The case features prominently in a detailed dossier that Dame Julie has released, outlining 100 cases in which she has discovered serious blunders by the hospital and GP staff. The 100 cases are anonymous, but Jerry Odlin, Philippa's dad, spoke to a national newspaper to raise awareness of the risks and symptoms of his daughter's condition. He said, "The A&E doctor said to me, I think she's just got a hangover and needs to go home to sleep it off. I accepted that from a doctor, but now I wish I'd asked more questions." Mr. Odlin is furious that, even though he told A&E staff that his daughter was a diabetic, they did not take either blood or urine samples to establish what was wrong. Her brother Nick has raised more than £900 in memory of Philly for the Diabetes UK charity. On his www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Philly Odlin page, he describes his sister as a free spirit who lived life to the full. He said she was fiercely independent and always determined. She had her whole life in front of her, and it is a terrible shame and loss to the world. She will be greatly missed by all who knew and loved her. We will never, never, ever forget her. She will remain in our hearts and minds forever. It is not the first time North Middlesex has come under the microscope. In June, the hospital's A&E unit was threatened with closure on safety grounds after revelations that 4 patients died after errors by staff in the emergency department and other areas. A spokesman for North Middlesex University Hospital NHS Trust said, "We apologise unreservedly to Mr. and Mrs. Odlin for the care of their daughter in our A&E department in February 2014 and reiterate our sincere condolences about her death. We are determined to improve our standards and ensure that all our staff are aware of the risks associated with a patient who has an underlying condition of diabetes and who has consumed a considerable quantity of alcohol. We hope by doing so we will be able to help prevent similar tragedies in future."
Remembrance Day services will take place across the borough on Friday, the 11th of November. In Southgate, the Friends of Broomfield Park are holding their annual Remembrance Day service at 10:45 a.m. in the Garden of Remembrance. After the service, the Palmer's Greenery Cafe will be open, selling tea and coffee and cakes with a wartime theme. This year's Remembrance Day on Sunday, November the 13th, will be marked by 3 parades in Enfield, Edmonton and Southgate. The Edmonton parade will gather at the Plevna Road car park behind Edmonton Green at 9:30 a.m, where it will be addressed by the Mayor of Enfield, Bernadette LePage, before moving to the War Memorial at the front of the Green. A 20-minute Remembrance Sunday service will precede the 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. The parade will finish 30 minutes later when guests and the public are invited to make their way to the Lamb Pub in Church Street for a post-parade buffet which will end at 1 p.m. The Enfield Town Parade will meet at 1:45 p.m. at the back of the Royal British Legion in Holt Whites Hill and Chayside Primary School in Trinity Street. At 2:30 p.m. the parade will march to Chase Green War Memorial for a service and the laying of wreaths before marching to Enfield Town Marketplace, where dignitaries will salute the marchers. After passing Enfield Civic Centre in Silver Street, the parade will return to the Royal British Legion, where a buffet will be available. The Southgate Parade will assemble at 10:15 a.m. in Tudor Way and march from Southgate Circus roundabout along High Street towards St Andrew's Church. A commemorative event at 11 a.m. will be followed by a reception and speeches at the Royal British Legion in Nursery Road. Doug Taylor, the leader of Enfield Council, said, "Across the borough, the people of Enfield will pay tribute to those who paid the ultimate price in times of war, the brave people who took the risks to preserve the values of a free country. It is at these times that we can be united in giving thanks for their courage, recognising their incalculable contribution to our way of life."
Serving up some drama. Now, do you fancy a bit of theatre with your omelette? Then head to Malone & Co., a new community cafe where drama, comedy and music events happen as you eat. The cafe opened in Burley Way, Enfield Town 8 weeks ago and is the brainchild of chef Kwaku Apaya, 44, who has run the cafe in Jackson's Lane, a multi-arts venue in Highgate, and others in Highgate Woods, Bristol and Weston-super-Mare. They're suspicious of anything except burgers, he jokes. Kwaku has been waiting 5 years for the building, just behind Starbucks, to be completed, and he has a long list of young people signed up to do an NVQ in food production there. He wants to give back to the community and let the drama students have a go, acting out scenes from films including The Shawshank Redemption and Gone with the Wind. Kwaku grew up in Tottenham and used to hang about after school looking for something to do. He stumbled on a cookery class for adults and was finally allowed to join after charming the grown-ups. He said, "I discovered something I was really good at and something I really liked. I was a DJ for years and then got ripped off, so I decided to become a chef. I could have made a lot of money from it if I'd wanted, but it's about the socialising for me and the sharing of ideas and food. I like people. That's why I have always have open kitchens, so I can see what's going on and get out into the front of the house." Over the next few weeks, he'll be starting a breakfast club where kids can go, do their homework and get a good healthy meal that won't break the bank. The NVQ students will gain vital skills in the kitchen and be sent out to the marketplace in the town to try their social skills. He added, "It's no good if you're a great cook but can't relate to people, so I make them do front of house too. We're getting a market stall, selling puddings to eat there or take away. They offered me a job in the Dorchester once, but they work in silence and I need music to function. Anything from Tibetan monk music to Jay-Z and I'm happy."
Here's a couple of local notices. You can pick up a bargain at the Latimer car boot sale on Sunday the 6th of November from 8:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. £1 entry fee before 9 a.m. and free entry after 9. The car boot sale takes place in the Latimer School car park. To complement the Enfield Society exhibition at the Enfield Museum, a study on 20th century Enfield, A Time of Change, takes place on Saturday the 12th of November at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield Town. The day-long event will include talks by Monica Smith, author of the 4th book in the History of Enfield series, and by Ian Jones on Enfield in the First World War. Joe Studman and David Cockle will lead a walk around Enfield Town looking at the buildings and the society have helped to save over the past 80 years, and even the Enfield Beast will be coming. If you are not able to do the walk, there will be other activities in the museum, so do book your place. Tickets are £15 and include lunch, coffee and tea. For more information, please telephone 020 8363 9495. I'll read that number again. 020 8363 9495. Also, on the 12th of November, St Stephen's Church in Bushel Park will host an antique and vintage and collectibles fair from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Entrance fee is 50p. Accompanied children and under 16s is free, with wheelchair access and disabled toilet facilities.
A super day out. A Lamborghini once owned by rock star Sir Rod Stewart got car enthusiasts all revved up at a classic car show at Alexandra Palace. The Italian supercar, bought by the singer in 1971, went under the hammer for more than £900,000 at the classic and sports car show's first classic car sale. Thousands of enthusiasts and visitors from all over the world flocked to the 3-day extravaganza. It was the second staging of the annual event at Alexandra Palace. Petrol heads were met with a feast of classic cars to view as the crew of dealers and specialists from the UK and Europe displayed vehicles from every era of motoring history. Chris Routledge of Coy's Auction House said, "We were absolutely delighted with the auction. The room at Alexandra Palace was packed throughout, and in total we've achieved more than £4 million worth of sales." Veteran sports car driver John Fitzpatrick kept the crowds entertained with tales of racing Porsches during his illustrious endurance career during the 1970s and 1980s. He also revealed how he played a part in discovering a young Lewis Hamilton after witnessing the now 3-time Formula One world champion racing karts as a child. Other highlights included watching a Jaguar XK120 as it was restored, and many stalls selling collectibles and memorabilia.
This is regeneration for the 21st century. Plans are in the pipeline to breathe new life into an Edmonton industrial estate and turn it into a high-tech business hub. The Montague Industrial Estate, north of the A406 North Circular Road, is set to be transformed into a thriving business and commercial site which will create new jobs. A range of accommodation, which will be an accessible and vibrant estate, is also planned to be built as part of the regeneration work. The proposals were agreed by Enfield Council last month, and the Council is in the process of setting up a partnership group to take on the project. Alan Sitkin, Cabinet Member for Economic Regeneration and Business, said, "This exciting new project will see new life and vibrancy breathed into one of our older industrial estates, making it fit for the future and able to support high-tech industries in the 21st century. This work will bolster our aim, which is to help lift the wards in the area out of the most deprived in the United Kingdom. We will do this by stimulating industry and creating jobs."
We have a couple more notices now. Enfield Chamber Orchestra hold their next concert at Enfield Baptist Church, Cecil Road, Enfield, on Saturday the 12th of November at 7:30 p.m. The programme will include Schumann's Cello Concerto and Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. Admission is £12 and £10 for concessions. You can contact the following number for tickets: 020 8360 4980. That's 020 8360 4980. The next Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group Patient and Public Engagement meeting will take place on Wednesday the 16th of November from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Community House, 4 Street, Edmonton. The CCG welcomes views and comments on local health provision from members of the public, and all are welcome to attend and share their views. That's on Wednesday the 16th of November from 2 till 5 p.m. at Community House, 4 Street, Edmonton.
There, Bob's Your Uncle is the headline here, and we've got a picture of a chap trying to eat an apple in a barrel of water. There was a barrel load of fun at Enfield Market as dozens of youngsters enjoyed the age-old custom of apple bobbing. And market worker James Crowther was overjoyed, having held a trial run earlier during which many youngsters spurned the chance to have a go because they didn't have a clue what the tradition of apple bobbing was about. The 53-year-old who organised arts and crafts near the bandstand was delighted as youngsters were eager to have a go at plunging their faces into the barrel of water to retrieve the floating apples without using their hands. There was a lot of enthusiasm from the children, said James, who is a volunteer for the Old Enfield Charitable Trust, which runs the market every Thursday and Saturday. It was like a Pied Piper exhibition. It was just great. Once they got the hang of how to play, they kept taking it in turns and watching each other. James had previously been met with mystified stares from children and parents when he invited them to have a go because they hadn't heard of the custom and didn't know what they were expected to do. The tradition goes back hundreds of years when they used to determine whether a courting couple were the right match. There were variations of the game. One involved a woman bobbing for the apple which had been selected by her potential partner, and if she caught it the first time, then it symbolised true love. I was extremely surprised that so many people haven't heard of apple bobbing, but I hope to introduce more traditional games to children and parents at the market, added James.
PM ignoring her own warnings over Brexit. Theresa May has been accused of ignoring her own dire warnings about the consequences of a so-called hard Brexit after a recording emerged of her setting out fears for the economy. The Prime Minister told investment bankers at an event at Goldman Sachs before the June the 23rd referendum she was concerned businesses would leave if Britain quit the European bloc. She has since said that Britain should have maximum freedom to trade in the single market, but not at the expense of immigration controls. Mrs May, who was Home Secretary at the time, was criticised by members of David Cameron's team for keeping a low profile in the campaign. In a recording leaked to The Guardian from the event on May the 26th, she says, "I think the economic arguments are clear. I think being part of a 500 million trading bloc is significant for us. I think, as I was saying to you a little earlier, that one of the issues is that a lot of people will invest here in the UK because it is the UK in Europe. If we were not in Europe, I think there would be firms and companies who would be looking to say, do they need to develop a mainland Europe presence rather than a UK presence? So I think there are definite benefits for us in economic terms." Andrew Gwynn, Shadow Minister without portfolio, said, "As if we needed it, this recording is cast-iron evidence of how Theresa May and other senior Tories have been saying one thing in private about the economic impact of Brexit and another in the comfort of Tory conference halls. It's plain that she recognises what a disaster it would be for Britain to lose access to the single market. So why doesn't she be honest and say how she plans to retain it? Liberal Democrat leader Tim Farron said, "It is disappointing that Theresa May lacked the political courage to warn the British public, as she did a group of bankers in private, about the devastating economic effects of Brexit. But far more disappointing is that now she is supposedly in charge, she is blithely ignoring her own dire warnings and is prepared to inflict an act of monumental self-harm on the UK economy by pulling Britain out of the single market." Labour's Phil Wilson, an Open Britain campaign supporter, said, "It's good to know that privately Theresa May thinks what many of us have been saying publicly for a long time. Leaving the single market would be bad for business and for our economy."
Tories blast delay to extra policing. Extra police support is being drafted in to tackle crime on housing estates. Officers began patrolling at the start of September and are based on estates where higher levels of criminal and antisocial behaviour, including drug use, have been reported. But Tories on Enfield Council have criticised the local authority after it was revealed that the introduction of the 16 extra officers was delayed by 6 months as a result of red tape. Funding for the officers, paid for by the council and supplied by the Metropolitan Police and the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime, was approved in April, but bureaucracy meant that they are only now patrolling the estates. Joanne Laban, the Conservative group's deputy leader, said, "I am shocked and dismayed that due to the council, the borough was without its extra police resource. I know this is an extra resource in addition to the Metropolitan Police provision, but the loss of officers down to bureaucracy is just not on." The decision by the council was made in April to enter into a new contract, but it was only signed off last month, meaning a gap in provision for 6 months. It is unforgivable that this has happened. A council spokeswoman admitted that there had been a 6-month delay, but stressed we were unable to proceed until both the MPS and MOPAC had agreed the terms of the contract. The teams will supplement the work of the existing ward officers and take part in additional police patrols. Crystal Fonyonga, the council's cabinet member for community safety and public health, said, "Over recent years there have been central government cuts to budgets for police services across London and the country. Supporting a safe Enfield is a priority for this council, and so we are paying for these officers from our own limited funds to help the lives of our residents who live on some of our most difficult estates." Superintendent Carl Robinson, who is based at Edmonton Police Station in 4 Street, said, "This is a really encouraging initiative from the council, which we positively promote."
Tributes to friend who died in holiday tragedy. Architect drowned in Caribbean seas. Crowds turned out to pay their respects as a Dodge pickup truck led the funeral procession of an architect and campaigner. A funeral service was held for Paul Shackleton, 71, from Walthamstow, who drowned while on holiday in Trinidad on September the 25th. Scores of people came out to honour the architect as a funeral procession, including a truck carrying Mr. Shackleton's coffin, travelled past his office in Orford Road. Mr. Shackleton was a prominent campaigner against the Mini Holland scheme in the street, and local traffic restrictions were lifted to allow the procession through. A service was then held at St Mary's Church in Church End. Family, friends and clients of Mr. Shackleton have taken to a page set up online in the past few days to pay tribute to him. Former employee and friend Irene Wong said, "How I wish I had the chance to have that catch-up coffee with you. Your wry smile, gentle, honest manner, and wealth of architectural knowledge will be greatly missed." Friend Majid Ishak said, "I always found my interactions with Paul unique, informative, exceptionally friendly, and a joy. He will be missed, and has left a host of memories for us to remember him by. A true gent. My deepest condolences to his friends and family." Mr. Shackleton founded his own architectural firm in 1976, designing schemes across London and the home counties. Some of his work can be seen in Church Avenue in Chinkford, Lawn Road, Walthamstow, and Chelsea Mews, Wanstead. He also co-founded the campaign group E17 Streets for All, which has demonstrated against the construction of the Mini Holland cycle scheme in Walthamstow, including in Orford Road. He had been in the Caribbean to attend a wedding with his family at the time of his death. He had gone for a swim in the sea near the resort of Mayaro, but got into difficulty in rough water. He was found by rescuers around 15 minutes later, but attempts to revive him were unsuccessful.
Couple more notices. You can join the Doodlebugs vocal trio on Saturday the 19th of November from 8 p.m. at the Intimate Theatre in Palmer's Green for a charity swing night. Bring your own bottle. A sprung dance floor. The tickets are £10. For more information, contact Veronica on 07914 813182. That's 07914 813182. The choir of Christchurch Southgate will perform Joseph Haydn's Renau Ontario, The Creation, on Sunday the 20th of November at 6:30 p.m, accompanied by their resident orchestra, the Bach Sinfonia. Tickets are £14, concessions £12, under 18s free, and can be reserved by phoning the parish office on 020 888 0384. That's 0208 886 0384, and leave a message.
YouTube star Nikki is truly inspirational. The extraordinary courage of an Enfield girl who helped millions by sharing her story on YouTube has won her a prestigious award. 12-year-old Nikki Christou was diagnosed with a potentially life-threatening condition which left her with a severe facial disfigurement at the age of 6. But where many people would have shut themselves away from the world, the YouTube star shared her story, beauty and baking tips, winning herself millions of online fans. The blogger won a Child of Courage accolade at the Pride of Britain Awards. Her dad, George Christou, said, "Nikki had a wonderful evening. She swapped makeup tips with Candice Brown, the Bake Off winner, and Mary Berry. Jamie Oliver said he wants to do some kind of cooking collaboration with Nikki, which is very exciting. She was gracious and funny as always. There wasn't a dry eye in the house." Nikki's life changed forever when she and her parents noticed veins popping up on the right side of her face. She was diagnosed with arteriovenous malformation, or AVM, a rare health condition which leaves sufferers with an abnormal connection between their arteries and veins and causes intense pain and life-threatening nosebleeds. She underwent 30 operations and was unable to run around for fear of raising her blood pressure, leaving her a prisoner in her own home. Mr. Christou said, "It was awful. No child should have to suffer the way Nikki did. It started with nosebleeds, then bleeding from her mouth and eyes, but these bleeds were so severe they are life-threatening. It robbed her of her childhood. She would watch out of the window, unable to play with her friends. Nikki said, "It was a shock because at that age I didn't have a care in the world. I felt quite lonely because after it was diagnosed, my friends still didn't have a care in the world, while I had to give up lots of clubs and activities. I didn't go to school very often and I felt isolated." 2 years after her diagnosis, Nikki set up her YouTube channel, Nikki Lily, where she shares makeup tips and baking tutorials with her loyal fan base. She has become a social media star, inspiring fans across the world, some with the same condition, and thousands who simply love her positive attitude. With more than 120 videos so far, each new show tends to chalk up more than 500,000 views. Nikki said, "It's amazing I have so many followers. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't get me down or make me angry, but you can either be negative and not enjoy life, or you can be positive and block out all the negativity in your life and live a lovely, healthy, joyful and happy life." Through her charity, Butterfly AVM, Nikki has also raised almost £400,000 for research into AVM at Great Ormond Street Hospital, where she has been treated, and University College Hospital, London. Mr. Christou added, "Nikki is an amazing, special, wonderful girl and a real story of triumph through adversity."
Sport. Towners fight back to book a place in next round of trophy. Enfield Town staged a memorable comeback from 2-0 down to defeat Canvey Island in the first qualifying round of the FA Trophy. Brad Quinton's side looked in big trouble after falling 2 goals behind at half-time against the side they thrashed 5-1 in the league recently. But the Towners fought back, and a late winner stunned Canvey Island as they booked their place in the next round. It was a lively start to the cup tie, with Nigel Neater setting up a chance for Dernal Winter, but his strike missed the target. At the other end, Martin Tuohy spurned an opportunity when he dragged his shot past the far post. Visiting goalkeeper Lewis Moore was called into action after making a decent save to keep out a Neater strike. The breakthrough came for Canvey Island after 17 minutes. George Sykes broke away and showed composure to far his effort over goalkeeper Nathan MacDonald. The Towners almost drew level through Winter, but the striker's shot was blocked by Moore. Mickey Parcell should have grabbed the equaliser shortly afterwards, but he failed to find the target from close range. The hosts were pushing forward, but this proved costly as Canvey Island produced a sucker punch on the break. Sykes managed to find space and fire in his second of the game and leave the visitors in the ascendancy heading into the second half. Keir Dixon was brought on in the second half for the Towners, and his introduction certainly helped their cause. He fired in a couple of efforts which were kept out by the busy Moore. Bobby Devine was brought on in the 68th minute, and he made an immediate impact for the hosts. The substitute played a big role in helping the hosts pull one back. Devine laid the ball into the path of Billy Crook, and his 25-yard strike handed Town away back into the contest. Time was still running out for Quinton's side when they managed to draw level. Crook's strike was too powerful for the keeper and defender Ashley Dumas to keep out. It appeared as if they had done enough to salvage a replay, but there was still time for a dramatic finale to the tie. Devine proved the difference, making as he looped a shot over Moore to leave the visitors stunned. Canvey Island desperately pushed forward in a bid to force a late equaliser, but were unable to find a third goal. The result sends Town into a tie at Kings Langley in the second qualifying round of the competition on Saturday, November the 12th. but Quinton's team have to concentrate on the Ryman Premier Division first as they prepare for a home game against Worthing next. The Towners wore pink for the game as a charity fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. An auction helped raise about £2,700.
I had my fill of politics. Former Enfield Southgate MP Portillo has no regrets. He doesn't need reminding of the infamous Portillo moment when, as a Conservative cabinet minister, he lost what was considered the safe Enfield Southgate seat to Labour's relatively unknown candidate, Stephen Twigg. It was a defining moment in the 1997 general election and has since become a metaphor for a dramatic swing in political fortunes. But Michael Portillo, the 63-year-old ex-politician, broadcaster and presenter, is far from dismayed by the experience, choosing to reminisce and poke fun at himself when he brings his An Audience with Style show to Willot's Theatre in Potter's Bar. Entitled A Game of Two Halves, it's a fascinating collection of amusing tales and anecdotes about his life. The first half deals with his long political career, with positions in both Margaret Thatcher and John Major's governments from the mid-1980s through to the mid-1990s. He tells yarns about Mrs. Thatcher, whom he admits was formidable. As a potential party leader who was once tipped as a future Prime Minister, Mr. Portillo bowed out of politics in 2005 and says he doesn't miss it and has no desire to return. I was never that ambitious about climbing up the greasy pole. I had held several cabinet posts and had my fill. I left voluntarily because I didn't enjoy being in opposition, he explains. The other half of the show deals with his newfound celebrity status as a historian and TV presenter of the BBC series Great British Railway Journeys. The evening also includes a question and answer session during which the audience can put him on the spot. A staunch Eurosceptic, he says he is cautiously optimistic about Brexit, believing the euro is doomed and that the rich countries of the continent will get to the point where free movement of people can no longer be sustained, while the poorer countries will no longer be able to afford to lose their talented young. And he is probably best placed to give an insightful comment on the American presidential election, having just spent the summer filming the Great American Railway Journeys for the Beeb. It's difficult to understand, he says. More than 70% of Americans distrust Hillary Clinton, so it's hard to see how she would govern should she win. And they distrust Trump even more. It shows the disillusionment and distrust with the political establishment.
Couple have their faith to thank for a diamond wedding. A couple who are both church pastors celebrated their 60th diamond wedding anniversary at the weekend and say their faith has been the secret to their long and happy marriage. Theodore, 86, and Merle Scott, 79, of Palmer's Green, marked the special occasion with more than 300 family members and friends, with some travelling from as far afield as America. The couple married in Jamaica in 1956, where they are originally from, having met at the Pentecostal Church in Kingston. Theodore proposed within 4 months of meeting Merle. After they had 2 daughters, Grace, who was 13 months, and Carol, 6 months at the time, Theodore moved to London in 1961 in the hope of saving enough money to move back to Jamaica and buy a house for his family. Merle stayed in Jamaica and the couple kept in touch by letter. I remember arriving at Heathrow and people saying, "Welcome, we wish you every success in your new home." After a year apart without seeing each other, Merle moved to London with her mother and 2 daughters to be with her husband. It was a long time without seeing each other, so I wanted to join him in London, said Merle. The couple decided to settle in London and had 3 more children, Junior, Lorraine and Sharon. Theodore began a 34-year career on the railways, first as a cleaner at Bounds Green Tube Station. He was then promoted as a leading porter at Haringey Station and became a station supervisor at Finsbury Park Station before he retired in 1995. Merle worked for 30 years as an assistant nurse for the NHS, first at North Middlesex University Hospital in Edmonton and then St Anne's Hospital in Tottenham. She retired in 1997. Merle became a pastor in 2011 at the Triumph Church of God in Christ in Tottenham. Theodore had been ordained in 1965. Our faith has helped us through, added Merle. Sometimes we've hit a rock, but we've always been able to smooth it out. It's because we believe strongly in our faith we've learned to understand and support each other.
MP and Council clash over caring for refugee children. MP David Burrows has made renewed calls for Enfield to stop sitting on its hands and let in vulnerable refugees being dispersed from Calais. As thousands of desperate migrants poured out of the squalid jungle camp, the Tory MP for Enfield Southgate said it was time to act. Speaking on Radio 4 and in Parliament as the operation to demolish the camp began, Mr Burrows urged local authorities, in particular his own, to do more. He said, considering the government has now made it crystal clear that the UK must prioritise the safety and security of children who are eligible for resettlement to the UK, I am disappointed that Enfield Council is not following other London councils in providing places for child refugees following relocation schemes. Mr Burrows, who sits on the Commons Home Affairs Select Committee, raised concerns that planned shelters would be insufficient to accommodate all child refugees should the French authorities fail to accept the French Red Cross offer of a children's centre. He urged local authorities to deliver on their commitment to take their fair share of vulnerable children who have a legal right to be in the UK. Enfield has additionally accepted 70 unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. Hillingdon has so far taken 110 and Croydon has taken 430. But Enfield has yet to take any under the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme. However, Cabinet Member for Education, Children's Services and Protection, Aoife Orhan, rejected his claims and urged him to check his facts, saying Enfield was ready and waiting. I am very disappointed that Mr Burrows didn't check his facts with us first, she said. Enfield has taken a very high number of children seeking asylum. Once the government has sorted out the paperwork for the children at Calais, we are ready and waiting to take more. Mr Burrows immediately responded, the paperwork has been sorted, the clock is ticking. When is Enfield going to honour its promise?
Alexandra Palace celebrates favourite park status. Alexandra Park has been voted one of the nation's top 10 parks after members of the public voted in the Green Flag Awards People's Choice Contest. Voters chose the 196-acre park, which is situated around the legendary historic entertainment venue Alexandra Palace, due to its array of landscape gardens, woodland, open grassland and various attractions, including the boating lake, cafes and a pitch and putt course. The park also boasts some of the best panoramic views across the capital and was visited by around 2.8 million people in the past year, with thousands attending events such as the Firework Festival and Summer Festival. The People's Choice gives the public a platform to choose their favourite parks, rather than a panel of judges having the final say. And this year, more than 30,000 people got involved as the scheme celebrated its 20th anniversary. Other parks ranked alongside Alexandra Park in the People's Choice Contest include Clifton Park in Rotherham, Moat Park in Maidstone, and Victoria Park in Tower Hamlets. Mark Everson, the manager of the park in Muswell Hill, is full of gratitude towards everyone who voted. He said, "We are delighted to have been placed in the top 10 and would like to thank the park users who voted for us and continue to support the park. The achievement would not have been possible without all the hard work of our ground staff and volunteers from the Friends of the Park. Where are your favourite parks in London? Let us know or send your pictures to rachel.russell@london.newsquest.co.uk.
Getting into the art of Edmonton. Ambulance crew is Canadians' latest work. Paramedics at Edmonton Ambulance Station have been immortalised by a firefighter from Edmonton in Canada who creates art which features the work of the world's emergency services. Dan Sundal, whose full-time job is as a firefighter and paramedic in Edmonton, Alberta, travelled the 4,000 miles to London during the summer. The Globetrotter specialises in making artworks of police, ambulance and fire crews, digitally enhancing and colouring the original print until it resembles a hand-painted image. The effect is stunning and has earned him world renown, especially amongst emergency services in Europe and Asia, as well as North and South America. Charlotte Wright, a paramedic at the ambulance station in Windmill Road, Edmonton, North London, who follows Daniel's artwork on Facebook, heard that he was making his first trip to the UK and invited him to the station so he could produce a piece of art featuring the crew there. "The photo session was great," said Daniel. "I was able to meet some fellow paramedics who were on shift and capture a group photo with them." He spent 10 days in London and also photographed other members of the London Ambulance Service. "I really enjoyed my time in London and at the Edmonton station," he added. "London's medical services are similar in a lot of ways to Canada, but I learned a few things that I might try and implement with my own service." Daniel said he uses his artwork as therapy for his job, which helps to purge often distressing scenes from his memory and turn them into artistic creations. "I try to capture an emotional element in my artwork that goes beyond the image itself," he explained. "I'm truly humbled by all the attention my work has received, and I'm sure I'll keep creating until I'm old and cranky." Despite repeated requests, London Ambulance Service were unable to provide a comment from Edmonton Ambulance Station.
The council's housing firm snaps up its 200th home. The housing company, which provides short-term accommodation on behalf of Enfield Council, has bought its 200th property and is looking to make more acquisitions. Between March 2014, when it was set up, and March this year, the council-owned Housing Gateway has saved the local authority $1 million by providing alternatives to emergency bed and breakfast for homeless family. Half of Housing Gateway property are 2, 3 and 4 bedroom former council homes bought under the Right to Buy scheme. Families are given an assured short hold tenancy as well as help to find longer term, cheaper accommodation. Dino Lemanoides, Housing Gateway board member and the council's cabinet member for finance and efficiency, said, "Between 2010 and 2015, we needed to make budget reductions of $118 million, and we still need to find a further $56 million of savings by 2019-20 because of continuing reductions on central government funding." Fellow board member and cabinet member for housing and housing regeneration, Ahmed Okayama, said, "This is a practical, efficient and intelligent response to serious budget pressures, and I'm delighted we're able to find an effective solution to this increasing taxing problem."
Burrows leads fight to stop extradition. Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows has led fellow parliamentarians in calling on President Obama to prevent the extradition of Laurie Love, the alleged computer hacker. The open letter, signed by more than 100 MPs, follows questions posed by Mr Burrows to the Prime Minister in Parliament. Mr Love, aged 31, who has Asperger's syndrome, is accused of hacking into key American institutions, including the FBI, NASA, and the Federal Reserve Bank. In September, a judge sitting in Westminster Magistrates Court ruled that Mr Love could be extradited to the United States. Mr Burrows successfully supported the campaign to prevent the extradition of Gary McKinnon, who was also accused of hacking into American state systems. Following his case, the then Home Secretary Theresa May introduced a forum bar to limit the situations in which extradition can take place. Mr Love's lawyers believe that he faces a likely sentence of 99 years if he is tried in America over alleged crimes that would attract a maximum penalty of a few years in prison if found guilty in the UK. Mr Love has suffered lifelong depression and is considered at great risk of taking his own life if incarcerated away from his family. He does not believe he would receive justice in the United States, he told the court earlier this year. He said, "Sadly, what I expect in an American prison are the urges, the depression, the helplessness. I will exercise what remains of my self-control, and I will take my own life."
Ignatians run riot for 32-12 bonus point home win. Enfield Ignatians moved up to 9th in London 2 North West after their 32-12 bonus point home win over Stockwood Park. The hosts were first on the score sheet after breaking out from their own 22 following some excellent work from the back row, and Wes Warren's neat cross kick exposed a threadbare defence, which resulted in a simple run-in for Heidi Fires. Martin Rowe replied with a try for the visitors, but Enfield hit back through efforts from Jack Wilson and Jordan Wilson to give them a 19-7 half-time lead. Stockwood Park closed the gap with another try through Kieran Ryan. This woke up Ignatians, and Warren crossed the line after a catch and drive. A couple of penalties sealed the points. Enfield visit Hammersmith and Fulham next.
Sarries boosted by excellent first half. Saracens kept their place at the top of the Aviva Premiership table by securing a 24-10 victory at home to Leicester. It was a fantastic first half performance which paved the way for the hosts' triumph, as tries from Chris Wiles and Sean Maitland, coupled with 7 points from the boot of Owen Farrell, enabled them to open up a 17-3 lead. The advantage was further extended in the early stages of the second period as Billy Vinipola crossed the line for another converted try. However, Sarries were unable to add to their total after this, failing to get a fourth try which would have secured a bonus point, and were instead forced on the defensive as Leicester rallied strongly. A converted try from George Catchpole gave the visitors some hope, but Saracens were able to hold firm to claim the win. We set ourselves very high standards, and we got close to those standards in the first half, said Director of Rugby Mark McCall. I thought in the first half we showed some really good signs of how good we can be and the standards that we want to achieve. At half-time, 17-3 was probably about right, but once we got to 24-3, I thought we were really sloppy, and it's a big lesson for us because we didn't get the job done that we wanted to get done. We spent the last 15 minutes defending, which is not what we wanted to do. We did it pretty well, and we fought hard in our own 22, but we should have got 5 points, so it's frustrating. Saracens launched their defence of the Anglo-Welsh Cup by visiting Gloucester next.
Scout Jack is a leading light. An Enfield Scout has been congratulated by the Prime Minister after being named a Point of Light for his exceptional volunteering efforts. The awards recognise outstanding and inspirational individual contributions to community change. 19-year-old Jack Avery is chairman of the Scout Community Impact Group and has led the A Million Hands initiative, which targets social causes linked to dementia, disability, mental health, and clean water and sanitation. In a letter to Jack, Theresa May said, "Your fantastic work on A Million Hands is mobilising 500,000 Scouts to volunteer and creating a vibrant community of young people whose service will have a positive impact on the UK for years to come." The award came as a complete surprise to Jack. "I am absolutely honoured to be receiving a Point of Lights award. I did not expect it in the slightest." After thanking fellow Scouts and other volunteers, Jack did not forget the support he has received closer to home in Enfield. "I'd like to thank my mum for limitless support, which means the world to me, the Scout Association and all the wonderful charities I've had the privilege to work with, and to everyone who has helped and supported me along the way."
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Janet, Sally, Colin and Keith, and Robin on the controls, it's goodbye.
Bye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.